Andrew Marsh here with DrewFit. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. In today's video, let's talk dopamine. For those of you that aren't aware, dopamine is a neurotransmitter that is responsible for the motivational or reward center part of the brain. It's what gives us that good feeling whenever we accomplish something, or even as simple as waking up and rolling out of bed and getting that joy and spark out of life, which a lot of us today are struggling with. So I'm going to talk about number one, why our dopamine levels are shot. Number two, how to increase your dopamine levels. And three, how to maintain your dopamine levels through the duration of your life, hopefully. So number one, guys, why is our dopamine levels shot and what are the symptoms? Well, some of the symptoms that you're going to experience is you're going to lose that spark and joy of life that I talked about. You could be dealing with anxiety, depression, or other certain mental health issues like anger, frustration, and it is in large part caused by our use of technology. Yes, the cell phone, our televisions, the music we listen to, all of these things trigger dopamine responses within our brain, similar to the dopamine response that a drug addict may get. Now, the danger with this kind of stimulus, just like a drug addict, when they start off with their first usage of the drug, it takes a very little bit to get that reward center for them. But the more usage, time and time again, they're really raising the bar, and their body, their brain is relying on more stimulus to release that dopamine. The same goes for when we're using one of these cell phones. Now, what I'm talking about is just like the drug addict. When they start off slow, they're getting that good feeling. When you compare that to somebody using their cell phone, whether it's getting subscribes on YouTube, likes on an Instagram post, or even text messages, what they are doing essentially when they're getting those initial text messages or likes, yeah, it feels good, but I don't know, 1 year from now, the bar has been raised. You're relying on more stimulus. You want more people to be texting you. You want more people to be liking your pictures, so on and so forth. You're raising the bar and really setting a high standard for your brain to produce dopamine. Now, what happens when you set the bar so high, you're using so much stimulus that it's going to be hard to find joy in things that used to take very little action to feel joy in life, like just waking up and rolling out of bed. That's why you hear so many of these health professionals talking about meditation, because we're in such a program to check our phone, hop on Netflix, find that instant gratification to give us that dopamine rush. Another thing that really trumps our dopamine levels is the masturbation and watching of pornography. We're living in a society today where I think more people than ever are engaging in masturbation and watching pornography. And just like your cell phone, getting those alerts, masturbating does the same thing, guys. You keep raising the bar on that mental stimulus to get that dopamine rush. So really, guys, staying away from pornography and excessive masturbation is going to make a major change. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's going to be easy, because in the first stages, guys, it's going to be very difficult cutting off all these mental stimuli. But give it some time and you will experience some great change. So like I said, guys, because of this stimulus that we have, of our minds being constantly occupied with our cell phone, music, Netflix, all of this mental stimulus, we are living in a society today that have people dealing with the most mental health issues. And in my opinion, it is in large part because of our dopamine production is so lousy. So how do we raise dopamine? Well, number one thing we can help do to raise dopamine levels and really normalize them, to get that spark and enjoyment back into our life, to where you wake up in the morning and you actually feel like you want to live life and you're not scared of the challenges that wait you, but you're actually ready to tackle them because you know it's going to feel fantastic. So number one thing that we can do, guys, ditch your phone. Now, I'm not saying you got to go move off into the woods and disconnect yourself from everything for the rest of your life. That's just not going to happen. But what you can do is start slow. Start with a social media fast. You don't have to ditch your phone, because let's face it, there are emergencies that happen and people rely on work for their phones. But what you can do is sign out of a lot of your social medias for a few days and watch how your brain begins to function a little bit differently. Disconnect the Netflix. Stop drinking coffee every day. Just take small steps at removing things that cause this mental stimulus that is really artificial to our lives. And I can guarantee you that you will notice change. At first, it's going to be very difficult, but after a few days, you will begin to experience things that used to feel joyful maybe 10, 20 years ago are starting to feel joyful again. And like I said, guys, it could be as simple as waking up in the morning and feeling excited to tackle the day's objectives. So number one, ditch the technology for a little bit, but when you come back to the technology, how do you handle it? Because I get that question a lot. Well, you have to be very strategic, guys. I personally like to set certain times where I can check my phone. For instance, I'll give myself maybe 10 minutes sometime in the morning, and then in the evening hours, maybe I can check it for 1 hour, but then I'm off. So you really have to regulate yourself and watch what you're doing and pay attention to what you're doing. Because I notice when I go off the rails for a little bit, I notice I require a higher mental stimuli. So the number two thing that we can be doing to increase our dopamine levels is getting more sun exposure, specifically morning sun exposure. Now, I've talked about the morning sun and how it helps increase melatonin production. Well, it does the same for dopamine. And all you really need, guys, is about 5 to 15, 20 minutes maybe of the morning sunrise is going to be the best at helping increase and normalize your dopamine levels. Number three thing we can be doing is eat a healthier diet. I'm not going to sit here and advocate you go to a vegan or a carnivore diet, but start eating cleaner foods, things that support your mental function. Now, I will say there are a couple foods that I really enjoy that help boost my brain production, and that's going to be things like organ meats. One of my favorites is beef liver. I also enjoy eating a lot of eggs, and I also enjoy raw dairy, things like raw grass-fed milk or raw goat's milk. And last but not least, on the food side of things, guys, I can't stress this enough, but starting to supplement with magnesium bicarbonate is going to be huge for your mental health, specifically your dopamine production. Because in a stressed body, a lot of our brain chemicals do not function the way they should, one of those being dopamine. So when you start to increase your magnesium bicarbonate, this lowers the stress levels within your body and really helps normalize the brain chemicals. Now, the number four thing, I already talked about removing a lot of the technology in your life, but you must be aware of things like blue light toxicity and non-native EMF when it comes to protecting your dopamine levels. Now, when it comes to blue light exposure, that's a very easy one to overcome. You can purchase a pair of blue light blocking glasses, and whenever you're being exposed to blue light, also cover up your skin because your skin is a solar panel and it does absorb those light rays. So that's a simple way to help mitigate blue light. The next thing you're going to want to mitigate, guys, is non-native EMF, which includes radiation being emitted through things like our Wi-Fi routers, our cell phones, cell phone towers, smart meters, the list goes on and on. Now, the best way to mitigate the issue is to clearly get away from it, but it's going to be very difficult. So the most feasible way that I have come across, guys, is this device right here. This is the Blue Shield portable device. I highly recommend either the plug-in for your home or the portable if you're going to be on the road. What this does, guys, it emits scalar waves, so it really stops the body from responding to the non-native EMF, sending an immune response, damaging our cells. Instead, it responds to the Blue Shield's scalar waves in a beneficial way for your physical health and your mental health as well. Now, does it protect dopamine levels? I'm not sure. I just know that I did notice a major improvement personally in my mental health when I started to use the Blue Shield and blocking myself from blue light. And if you guys are interested in one of these products from Blue Shield, I will leave a link in the description below along with a 10% off discount code. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys start taking these steps to increase your dopamine levels, I would love to hear about your progress. So drop me a comment below. And if you have any questions or comments, I would love to hear from you. And hey, please don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys.